चान्दिके सततं ये त्वामर्चयन्तिह भक्तितः रूपं देहि जयं देहि यशो देहि द्विषो जहि देहि सौभाग्यम् आरोग्यं देहि मे परमं सुखं रूपं देहि जयं देहि यशो देहि द्विषो जहि ॐ ऐं ह्रीं क्लीं चामुण्डाय वीचे नमः। Swami 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 Maharaj and Swami 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 Maharaj, Bhaiji Vijay Bisram, who is chairing our satsang, Mataji Pushpanjali and family, our sponsors for this fourth session of our Navratri satsang, devotees and friends who are gathered here with us this evening, devotees who have joined us online. I wish to join Vijay in saying a very special welcome to all of you. We truly appreciate your coming to the ashram this evening, and also you're joining us on Facebook. We truly appreciate that. This evening, I will continue the story of Surath and Samadhi. For the benefit of those who are not here, I would just like to recap the first part of the story. King Surath had become the emperor of the whole world through his conquests of other countries. But as fate would have it, eventually he lost all the kingdoms he had conquered, and he retreated to his own capital. But bad news for him, his own ministers turned against him and forced him into exile. He found his way into the ashram of 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 Samadhi was a traitor, and he also faced bad luck. His own family took away all his wealth and chased him away, and he found himself also at the hermitage of 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. Even though King Surath, or the former King Surath, had lost his kingdom, he still longed to have back that kingdom, even though it gave him so much pain. And Samadhi, even though his family was so unkind to him, putting it mildly, or so cruel to him, yet he was thinking about them, whether they were okay, whether everything was all right with them. They recognized that they had a problem, and so they went to 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 and asked that we know. Surath said, "Oh, great saint, I know that this kingdom had brought me so much pain, and yet I long for it." And Samadhi said, "Even though my own family was so cruel to me, yet I still think about their welfare. What is wrong with us? Why are we behaving this way? We know that we're not acting correctly." And 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 explained to them that it was because of attachment, it was because of Maya delusion, that was why they were behaving that way. And what was the way to overcome that Maya? The Rishi said that one has to please Divine Mother. If one can please Divine Mother, by her grace, Maya is removed, true knowledge comes, and one is able to return to his or her source, which is God. What would they do with that knowledge? It is one thing to be given knowledge. Another thing is what we do with that knowledge. We are all fortunate when we get advice from godmen, from great saints and sages. But what we do with that advice will determine whether we make progress or not spiritually. Nobody can force us to do anything. We all have free will. The saint has 24 hours every day. The sinner also has 24 hours every day. How we use our time will define us, whether we are saint or whether we are sinner. I remember many years ago, I was just a teenager, and Swami Purnanandaji Maharaj was in residence in Guyana, the ashram. I remember feeling very disturbed because in my village, the Panditji, one Panditji, not all Panditjis are like what I'm going to say. Pandits are good people, but this one, before he went to do people's jandi, he would eat fish and meat, didn't care, and he would go. So that bothered me very much. So I went to Swami Purnanandaji Maharaj and I told him, I said, look what this Panditji is doing. He listened to me and he said, well, that is very bad. But what are you going to do about it? I wasn't prepared for that answer. I was speechless. I couldn't answer him. What are you going to do about it? Are you going to set an example for others to follow? Or are you just going to complain? Two English professors, after they retired, they went to India. And there they found the great master. They wanted to live their lives in an ashram and to give whatever remained of their lives to sadhana, to God, to strive to realize God. So whilst their guru was alive, they practiced sadhana. Early in the morning, they will get up and they will meditate for hours. Throughout the day, they will be busy working in the ashram. And at nights, before they retire to bed again, they will meditate 1-2 hours. They were making good progress spiritually. Their guru passed away. And after the guru passed away, their sadhana became more lax. Instead of getting up early in the morning to meditate, many days they skipped. Sometimes for weeks they would not meditate. One day they were watering the garden of the ashram. In the garden was a murti of their great guru. Someone had built a murti, a statue of their great guru. And as they were watering the plants, when they looked at the murti, they saw water was coming from its eyes. How could this be? There was no pipe connected to the murti, even to the stand of the murti. How is water coming from the eyes? And the water was coming down copiously, thick streams from both eyes. They called a block plumber. They said probably there is some plumbing under the murti which is broken. But the plumber, after checking, told them there was no plumbing there. There was no way water could go there. And when they reflected, they understood why that was happening. That their guru through this was trying to tell them. The guru was crying for them that you have given up your sadhana. Your sadhana is broken. Why? Why are you doing this? I've taught you to do sadhana every day, early morning, during the Brahma Muhurt, to do your duties and to meditate at nights before you go to sleep. But now that I'm no longer physically in body, you have relaxed your efforts. And they felt very guilty. They resolved that they would resume their heart sadhana, and they did. This morning I posted in my food for thought daily writing that I put on Facebook. Guru Maharaj asks, how many hours are you devoting daily to spiritual practice? Is it enough to take you to your goal of God realization? And you might say, what are you talking about hours? How many hours are you dedicating every day? I don't even have a few minutes. I'm so busy. But what we love, we find time for, don't we? What we care greatly about, we find time for. A student who wants to ace his or her examinations will study late hours into the night. Sometimes mommy and daddy would have to beg that child to go to sleep. He doesn't want to go to sleep. He wants to study. He wants to make sure that he's well prepared for his examination. If the child does not study, doesn't give time to his books, most likely he will not be successful. In the same way, spiritual life is like a perfectly efficient machine. Whatever we put into it, input is equal to output. That is what we get out of it. If we give time for God, and here Guru Maharaj was writing to his monks, but it is applicable even to Grihastis. That is why I placed that this morning. Let us suppose even that, yes, it is true, as Grihastis, you don't have an hour every day to give to God. But if you truly love God, there are a few moments, a lot of brief periods throughout your day when you have a little time. If you truly love God, you can give that to God. You don't always have to be in front of the altar to pray to God. You don't always have to sit in meditation to think about God. Even whilst we're busy, our minds can be focused on God. Even whilst we have a few spare moments every day, our minds can still be thinking about God if we truly love God. In ordinary love, a boy loves a girl, and throughout the day, no matter how busy he is, as soon as he has a spare moment, his thoughts automatically go to her and she him. Then how much more possible it is, if we truly love God, for us to think about God. Sometimes we're given knowledge, but we do nothing with it. Many times, people, devotees, and even strangers would come and they will relate their problems, and I would listen. I'm sure other religious leaders have the same experience. And right away, you could see what is the problem. But when you tell them what is the solution, they're not ready to follow it. It seems as if they're happy with the problems. What we do with the knowledge we get will depend or will decide what happens to us. Many devotees take Guru Diksha. Guru Maharaj, as I always say, as far as I am concerned, is the Guru of the ashram. I am just an instrument of his. I will never claim that title Guru because it belongs to Guru Maharaj. Whenever I give Diksha to anyone. As is traditional, I give a mantra as all the other Swamijis who are entitled to give Diksha would do. And I tell them every morning, at least one time, do 108 japa, one mala. And at nights before you go to sleep, do one mala. And throughout the day as much as you can. You don't need to count, but chant your Guru mantra. It is the link between you and Guru. Many times I've asked many of those I've given mantra to, do you do your mantra every morning and evening? There's just a smile on their face, no answer. What we do, we can have the best knowledge in the whole world, but if we don't act on it, it is meaningless. What would Surath and Samadhi do with this knowledge they garnered from 𝗦𝗲𝗵𝗵𝗺? In 𝗦𝗵𝗃𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗵, 𝗦𝗲𝗵𝗵𝗺 says, Jagama saryastapase sacha vaisyo mahamune samdarsan artam ambaya naripulina samstitaha. Surath and Samadhi set forth to practice disciplined meditation with the object of obtaining the complete intuitive vision of the mother. They stayed on the bank of the river. These two, they were willing to put into practice the knowledge that was given to them. And so they practiced disciplined meditation. These two words are important. Disciplined meditation. Disciplined meditation means that we have to be regular with our meditation. Not when we feel like meditate, we meditate, and when we don't feel like meditate, we don't meditate. That is not discipline. Whether we feel like meditating or not, we meditate. That is called disciplined meditation. Hinduism is unique. Hinduism is scientific. Other religions will tell you believe, but Hinduism says no, not merely believe, experiment, put into practice the teaching, and you will see the results. You will not hope for the results. If you practice what is given to you, you will have results. You can judge for yourself. Just like in the laboratory, the science student performs the experiment and gets the results. And then he understands. There is a time for everything. A time for socializing, a time for having fun, but there must be a time for prayers and serious contemplation. There must be a time for seclusion. The time when we're all alone, when we give that time to God, when our phone is on do not disturb, when nothing will keep us away from that time we've dedicated to God. That is called seclusion. And even if we can't physically seclude, we can make our minds so controlled it's like we're in a cave. So Surath and Samadhi decided that they will act on the advice, the teaching they were given by 𝗦𝗲𝗵𝗵𝗺. And so they went to the bank of the river with the determination that they were going to stay there and worship the Divine Mother in seclusion, because that river was far away from human habitation. Nobody will bother them there. 𝗦𝗵𝗃𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗵 says, Sacha vaisyastapasthepe devi suktam param japan tau tasmin puline devya kritva murtim mahimayimam arahanam chakratustasya पुष्पधूप-अग्नि-तर्पणैः निराहारौ तन्मनस्कौ समाहितौ. Chandipat says, in the radiant illumination of disciplined meditation, in the radiant illumination of disciplined meditation. Very significant words. If we are disciplined in our meditation, we will start to see results. That is the beauty of yoga. That is the beauty of Hindu teachings. We don't have to blindly believe, have faith that this is going to be so. We see, we experience for ourselves, and as we experience, we become stronger and we want to go further. As Surath and Samadhi meditated, they were aware of the inner light at the point between the eyebrows. Anyone who meditates deeply becomes aware of this light. At first, it's a bit hazy. It has a golden color. It's like a circle. It has a golden color and it undulates at first. As our attention becomes deeper, it becomes more constant. And then we're aware that within this circle of gold, there is another circle, a blue circle within, a circle of light. And as our meditation intensifies, we're aware, the masters tell us, that there is a white light within that blue light. And that white light is shaped like a star, a five-sided star. And if our concentration becomes even greater, and we can pierce that white star, then we can attain the state of cosmic consciousness, where we're freed temporarily from this physical body, free to travel to the higher realms. That is what one master said when he said, every day I die, daily I die, meaning that he leaves his body at will because of his mastery of yoga. So, Surath and Samadhi, and it's not like it will happen overnight, what I'm telling you, but we have to keep practicing. But from the very beginning, if we're sincere, we'll start to be aware of that light. And through years of practice, we'll start to progress and be aware of the other details of that inner light. So Surath and Samadhi, they were aware of this brilliant light as they meditated. They continually recited the verses of praise to the goddess. They prepared an earthen image of the goddess on the river bank, which was worshipped in turns. With their minds fully concentrated with the offering of flowers, incense, and fire, they remained without food or with limited food. Some days they observed a total fast, no food. Some days they only ate little. They were determined through their sadhana to find the Divine Mother. In this chaupai from 𝗦𝗃𝗀𝗃𝗀 Tulsidas writes,
Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram, Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram, Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram, Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram.
सात्फलखण्ड सुमिरहि ब्रह्म सचिरानन्द करय्यहार सात्फलखण्ड सुमिरहि ब्रह्म सचिरानन्द.
Jai Jai Rama, बारियाधारा मूल पल त्यागे पुनि हरि हेतु कारण तप लागे बारियाधारा मूल पल त्यागे श्री राम जय जय राम 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 श्री राम जय राम.
The Chaupai says, Manu and Satrupa, wanting to find God, went into the forest. They gave up their kingdom, they gave up all their wealth, their power, everything. And single-mindedly, they sought God. They practiced penance. Many days, like Surath Samadhi, they went without food. Their bodies became like skeletons. And even when they felt discouraged because God didn't come yet to them, they still continue their sadhana. That is our test. It is almost a universal experience when we seek God. We will undergo a lot of trials and tribulations, a lot of persecutions, a lot of hardships. These are necessary to burn out our impurities. Like I like to say, the raw gold has to be passed through the searing fire before it shines. We have to do sadhana. We have to prove our love for God. It is easy. It is easy for me to say or you to say, I love you, Divine Mother. Anybody can say that. But God requires us, Divine Mother requires us to prove our love. And we prove our love to Divine Mother that by whatever we undergo, whether good times or bad times, our love stays constant. Our love stays constant. Our love for God, our love for Divine Mother. And no matter how long it takes, we must have that determination. When Princess Parvati was doing sadhana, what was her resolve? If Lord Shiva doesn't come to me in this life, when I die and I'm reborn, I'll seek him again. And I will go on seeking him for 1,000,000 lives or more until he comes to me. That is the determination. You can't put a time span. I'm going to give God so much time, and if he doesn't come, I will not believe. Many years ago in Guyana, one boy made a resolve that for 16 Sundays, he will go to the sea and pray to Gangama because he wanted a specific result. He'll take fruits and whatever else was necessary, agarbatti, camphor, and offer his prayers. But after 16 weeks, his prayers were not answered. So he complained, I've wasted so much money and so much time trying to pray to Gangama, and my prayers are not answered. All these things are fake. We cannot put a time span. When we do that, that's the recipe for failure. We must be resolved to go all the way. Nobody can dictate to God. God decides when he comes to a devotee. So Surath and Samadhi continue their daily sadhana. For 1 year, for 2 years, for 3 years, their enthusiasm was still there. With concentrated minds, they meditated on the Divine Mother. And one day, when they least expected it, the Murti came to life. The radiant form of the goddess was before them. And Divine Mother spoke. People accuse Hindus of worshipping idols. When I hear the word idol, my blood boils. We don't worship idols. We worship the living presence of God. People have statues in front of their churches. They have statues everywhere, and that is okay, but Hindus worship idols. That is the criticism we receive. When a murti is placed there, Pran Pratishta Puja is done to invoke the divine presence. If we think it is stone, then it is stone. But if we believe it is a living presence of God, then so it is. Sita, as a young girl, prayed to Gauri Ma's murti. And as she bowed down her head in humility, praying to the Divine Mother, the murti came to life and spoke to her. Ramakrishna Paramahansa worshipped Divine Mother Kali. And when he pleased her, she spoke to him. In everyday matters, whatever he did, he would ask her advice and the murti will speak. One time he wanted to know whether the murti was breathing. He placed a mirror under the nostrils of the murti and he saw water vapor on the mirror. You know, when we breathe, if it's breathing, then when we breathe out, water vapor is in the breath that we breathe out. Murti is living if we think it is. I mentioned Guru Maharaj as a young brahmachari. He wanted to know whether all these thousands of people in Bengal who worship Durga Ma, whether she really blessed them, whether she was in the murti or not, or Guru Maharaj had a questioning mind. He will never believe unless he saw. And so late at night, after deep meditation in the cremation grounds, he went to the Yagna site. And there he saw everybody had gone home. And there were just a few diyas, flickering diyas. And through the light of those diyas, he saw the dim outline of the Devi. And he said, Ma, is it really true that you are in this murti? If you are, please show yourself to me, or else I will not believe. In a moment, he said that. There's a blaze of lights and Divine Mother appeared. And affectionately, she blessed him. And then, from then on, he never had any doubts. So, murti is a living presence. So the murti spoke. And what did the murti say? Chandipat tells us what Divine Mother said.
Yat praryate tvaya bhupa tvaya cha kulanandana matastat prapyatam sarvam paritusta dadami tat.
Mother said, O Surath, O Samadhi, I am extremely pleased with both of you. Tell me, my children, what do you want from me? Whatever you ask me for, I will give to you. Can you imagine we're in that situation where God is telling us, ask me for whatever you want and I will give to you? What would you ask for? A man went to a sadhu one day and he said, Sadhuji, bless me. I have no child. Bless me with a son. And so Sadhuji gave him a mango and said, when you go ask your wife to eat this, and by the blessings of God, she will conceive. A son was born, and the man was very happy. But after a few years, he came very sad. And he said, Sadhuji, I'm very sad. My son has died. And the sadhu said, what can I do, my child? Where there is birth, there is death. If you had asked me for God realization, I would have given it to you, but you wanted a son. That is how life is. Life is very fragile. We don't know how long we are here in this world. Life can go at any moment. What would they ask for? In this Chaupai from account of the 𝗦𝗃𝗀𝗃 Tulsidas writes,
Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Rama Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Rama Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Rama Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Rama
जपहि नामो जनु आरठ भारी मिटहि कुसंकट होहि सुखारी जपहि नामो जनु आरठ भारी मिटहि कुसंकट होहि सुखारी
Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Rama
राम बगट जग चारि प्रकारा राम बगट जग चारि प्रकारा सुकृति चारियो अनग उदारा सुकृति चारियो अनग उदारा
Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Rama 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 Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Rama.
first King Surath, the former King Surath, he spoke the mother, 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 𝗦𝗃𝗀𝗵𝗿𝗺 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗀𝗵 𝗦 निजं राज्यं 𝗦𝗃𝗀𝗵𝗿𝗺. Surath, who lost his empire and who was chased out of his own kingdom by his ministers, who felt so much pain because of his attachment to that kingdom, he said, Ma, give me back my kingdom. I want my kingdom. I want my empire, Ma. And mother said, Eva must do, so be it. You will get back your empire by my grace. The Chaupai says that there are 4 kinds of devotees in the world. All of them are great. It is better for us to ask whatever we need from God than to ask anyone else. Bhagavad Gita tells us about these 4 types of devotees. All of them are great. The Artha Bhakta, those in distress, that is one type of devotees. They remember God when they're in distress, like Draupadi when she was being disrobed. The seeker of knowledge, the Jijnasu, like Arjun. The seeker of wealth, the Artharti, like Sugriv, he wanted a kingdom. And the wise. Bhagavad Gita says, they're all great. But the wise with resolute conviction that I am the final goal is one with me. All of them are great, but the best amongst them is the wise, the Jnani, the Bhakta, like Prahalad, who were convinced that God is the final goal. Surath said, Ma, please give me back my kingdom. I miss my kingdom. Give me back my empire. I miss being an emperor. And mother said, so be it. What would Samadhi ask for? Remember, Samadhi was a rich businessman who was robbed of his wealth by his own family and chased out of his own home by his own family. Would he also want back his wealth? What did Samadhi ask for? Chandipat says,
Sopi vaisyastato jnanam vavre nirvina manasa mametyahamiti prajna sangha vichyuti karakam.
Then Samadhi, whose mind was filled with indifference to worldly objects, asked for the wisdom that removes the attachments of egotism and possession. Samadhi underwent a transformation. Samadhi wanted nothing to do with the world anymore. In Samadhi's heart there was this flame of bhakti. Ma, bless me with pure love and devotion for your lotus feet, Ma. I want nothing else but to love you, to serve you, to worship you. May my thoughts always be fixed on you. Ma, please grant me this. Samadhi had learned his lesson. There was transformation sadhana supposed to transform us. When Dhruv was seeking God, his only desire was to sit on his father's lap. But after months and years of sadhana, when Lord Vishnu appeared to him and said, "My son, what do you want?" He said, "Lord, having you, having your darshan, what else do I need? I want nothing else, Lord. You're sufficient for me. You're everything, Lord. May always be in this state of bliss, your bliss, Lord." And the Lord said, "So be it. You would always be my devotee. You will live for a long time. You will only leave this world when you want to. You'll be the next king." And before the Lord left, the Lord said, "Dhruv, and you'll be able to sit on your father's lap." Even the little desires which we have, when we find God, the Lord is so merciful that He fulfills it. Divine Mother is so merciful that she fulfills it. And so Divine Mother said to Samadhi, "Tam prayachami sansidyai tava jnanam bhavishyati." Oh Samadhi, I'm very pleased with you. I'm very happy with you, my child. I bestow upon you the fullest attainment, and you'll remain in the highest wisdom by which you will attain liberation. I grant you moksha, Samadhi. You see, when we please Divine Mother. Surath, he was, okay, you want to ask for your kingdom back, ask of it from God. That is okay. Mother granted that. But Samadhi, he underwent transformation. Ma, I want nothing else. I only want to love you, to worship you, to think about you, to be in your bliss. That is what pleases God. Mother said, "Samadhi, I'm very pleased with you, my child. I grant you liberation." So when we can please the Divine Mother, only then we can be freed from this Maya. I will end with this chaupai from Ramcharitmanas, where Tulsidas writes,
O Ram Raja Ram Raja Ram Raja Ram Ram, O Ram Raja Ram Raja Ram Raja Ram Ram, O Ram Raja Ram Raja Ram. Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Rama, Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Rama.
बल कहे न कोई गुंजग्रहै परस मनि खोई, कायिक बहुबल कहै न कोई, गुंजग्रहै परस मनि खोई।
ओ राम राजा राम राजा राम राजा राम 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 राजा राम राजा राम राजा राम राम।
आकर 4,84,000 जो मत ब्रह्मत जीव अविनाशी। आकर 4,84,000 जोनि ब्रह्मत यह जीव अविनाशी।
ओ राम राजा राम राजा राम राजा राम राम ओ राम राजा राम राजा राम राजा राम राम ओ राम राजा राम राजा राम रामाय नमः रामाय नमः रामाय नमः रामाय नमः ओ राम राजा राम राजा राम राजा राम ओ राम राजा राम राजा राम राजा राम ओ राम राजा राम राजा राम राजा राम राम।
Tulsidas says, no one will ever speak well of him who picks up a peppercorn and throws away the philosopher's stone. Life is about choices, my friends. Peppercorn is bitter to the taste. Black pepper is ground peppercorn. You know how bitter it is? If you had to choose between peppercorn and the philosopher's stone, which can change iron into gold, it is a no-brainer what we will choose. But yet, in our lives, we have a choice. What is that choice? A choice between Maya and Maya. A choice between the world. I'm not saying that we have to run away from the world and we have to live in some cave. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that we can still live in the world like a lotus flower. We do our duties. We do our day jobs, but as often as we can, we keep our minds fixed on God. But if we don't fix our minds on God, if our goal is not God, if our goal is just to enjoy the world, for tomorrow we die. You know, one person actually said that many years ago in Guyana. Life is one crop. Enjoy. Dunia ke maza le lo. Life is one crop. Enjoy. Eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow you die. If that is our philosophy, then we're following Maya. If we sincerely want Divine Mother, then that is Maya. That is Mother. It is our choice. Do we want Maya or do we want Maya? Do we want the things of this world exclusively and forget God? That is Maya. Or do we want the Divine Mother? Having her, we have everything we ever crave for in this world. The choice is ours on this Navratri. Since we have free will, I will not tell you how to choose, but I just say, please choose wisely. Let us choose wisely. Let us choose like Samadhi. May Divine Mother transform our hearts, that in this life, before death comes, we will find our lotus feet. This is what I pray. Om Shanti, 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 Hari Om.